Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world. Now, I'm not normally on at this time, of course, but I was still awake, and this is a video that I was going to do first thing in the morning. Well, actually, I was going to do it earlier on this evening, and then I was just too tired and wanted to do it justice. And then I wasn't expect. So then what I did was I had a nap instead, which is why I'm still awake at this ungodly hour in the morning. Because here I am in Spain, in Europe, for people who don't know. It is 12:30, 30 minutes past midnight. Well, 32 minutes past midnight, actually. And I decided I'm going to do this video now. I'm still awake. I want to talk about this lady, Celine, and, just in case I oversleep in the morning. So the best thing to do is to talk about it now. Now then, let's have a look at this beautiful girl. A very sad story, this. It's not really a crime, or as far as we know, it's not a crime. There's no evidence that there was any crime involved in this girl dying, but it's still mysterious. This is Celine. She went on a hike, and she was traveling, doing some backpacking, etc., on her own, as you should be able to do. And this is not a video to say to people, don't go, on trails on your own, or don't do this or don't do that. But I do think there are lessons to be learned from what happened to this lady, to this girl. First thing I want to say is, I hold her in my prayers when I say prayers. And I think about her family. I hope her family have had some peace from what they have found out about finally what's happened to her. For quite a long time, they did not know what had happened to Celine. They know that her car was found just outside a trail. They know she went on that trail, but it took a long, long time before it was actually found out what happened to her, that her remains were found, and I presume she's now been returned to her family. So I want to talk about it, but I do think there are lessons to be learned, as I say, not to not go and do these things. Celine died doing what she wanted to do. She was having a great time going off, being independent, going to see beauty spots and things. But she did, how can I put it? What did she do? She took the wrong turn. That's how it seems. She went on a hike and she went off the beaten track. And that is something you should not do. And another thing I just want to say is as well, don't take your pets with you. Not that Celine did that, but so many times I've seen of cases. I say cases, they're not really cases because they're not crimes. People go on hikes, dangerous hikes, go off the beaten track, and they take their bloody pets with them as well. Quite often you sort of hear about that. Don't take your pets with you. If you insist on going on dangerous trails and going off the beaten track or whatever, don't take your pets with you, please. Anyway, Celine didn't do that. It seems like Celine, maybe she just took a wrong turn in. Maybe something distracted her. Maybe she was chased off the main trail. We don't know. We probably never know exactly why she did go off the main trail, but she did, sadly. It seems like the other sad thing that I do want to bring up in this video is, if you do decide to go off, on your own, trekking or visiting beauty spots, isolated places, that's fair enough, but have a code with your family. The very sad thing about this case, even more sad thing, is Celine probably could have been found if it would have been realised earlier that she was even missing in the first place. Because the problem is when people go off on these sort of personal, I suppose she was doing sort of a personal exploration, if you like. She wanted to do this on her own, and that's great, and it's fair enough. But imagine if Celine every day at maybe 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening had arranged to contact a friend or family, and that first night she didn't do it. They alerted the authorities then. Would she have been found? Was she still alive? You know, we have no reason. We don't know how long Celine was out there in the wilderness, in the outback or whatever. We don't know how long she was there before she did expire, before she sadly died. Now, it could be that she died on the first night. We just don't know. But it's even worse, isn't it, to think that maybe she was there for a few days, just lost, couldn't find her way back. And if a search party would have been sent out for Celine sooner, could she have been found and could she have been saved? So my message to people who want to do these things is not to do it, but it's to have some sort of arrangement whereby every day, at least once a day at a certain time, you contact your friends or your family to say, I'm fine, just to let you know I'm fine, I'm going out again tomorrow, but I'll contact you again tomorrow at the same time. So that it doesn't go days and days like it did with Celine before she was even reported missing. Because when people go on these, you know, because Celine was doing things all her well, you'll see in this video that we're going to watch together. Her friends didn't think there was anything strange when they didn't hear from her, because they knew she was going to places that were a bit isolated and there might not be coverage, phone coverage, etc. So even if they'd messaged her and not got a reply, they weren't worried. It took a little while before they got worried because they knew where she was. Whereas if every day, at least once a day, Celine would have said, look, I will contact you every day at 9 o'clock in the evening. If I haven't contacted you by 9 o'clock the next evening, please, you know, send out a search party for me. And they would have found her car parked outside the trail. And, you know, it's just a possibility she might have been saved. We don't know she would. Could be that she was already deceased. But certainly it would have led to her family not having to wait the years that they had to wait for some resolution in this case. Anyway, there you go. That's just something I wanted to say. So what we're going to look at is a video that just popped up on my YouTube feed, and I thought we'd watch it together. It's like a, how can I put it? It's just like telling the story of Celine and what happened. It's part one. When part two comes out, we'll look at part two. Let's have a look. There's a couple of, oh, hello, Mark. Yes, maybe her phone was out of range, but the thing is, if she had made that arrangement with her family, you've got sons, haven't you, Mark? So if your sons went off and did this kind of, you know, went off traveling somewhere, you wouldn't worry, would you, at first? Unless they'd said, definitely, I will contact you one way or the other. And if I don't contact you, because the thing is, they could tell where she had been. You know, when it was looked into her phone records and that, they knew where she had been. They found her car. So I think, you know, that could have been quite quick, couldn't it? You know, quite quick, that they could have found her when she may have already been deceased, sadly, but at least I don't know what the answer is. You know, when young people decide to go on these trips, you can't say to people, oh, don't ever, you know, don't go on a trip, don't go to these lovely. She went to a place where it should have been safe, should have been safe. But there have been a good thing that has come out of it. You know, you always have to look for the silver lining, is there have been more signs put up now showing the way out, because it seems like Celine maybe went off the track, couldn't find a way back to the way out, but now there's been more signs put up. But anyway, let's watch the video and then you can tell me what you think. But you know, I just think it's so important if you can make your young people aware. I mean, I've just literally a niece of mine, her partner's son got into trouble in Thailand. He had a motorbike accident, very serious motorbike accident. He nearly died. Anyway, luckily he's not dead. And because he's young, he will probably recover quite well from this accident. He's had all sorts of surgeries. He's broken, you name it, he's broken it. And they've only just managed to get him back from Thailand because of the war, because of the orange person in the White House and the war. You can't get direct flights, etc. It took his dad 3 days to get out there to be with him in the hospital. Anyway, the good news is they're back now. He's back. He's on the road to recovery. He had insurance, luckily. That's another thing to instill into your young people. There's a lot of young people, they don't think anything can ever happen to them, do they? You know, they go away, they go on motorbikes without crash helmets. They'll, you know, they just think they're invincible, and especially when they're on holiday. Well, you know, we know from cases like Jay Slater, etc., you're not invincible when you're on holiday. In fact, you're in more danger when you're on holiday, I think, than when you're at home, because, you know, you tend to drink more, young people will take substances, they take more risks, they don't know the area. You know, at the end of the day, if you're in your hometown and you get into trouble, you know where to go to try and get help, don't you? You know the area. But if you're, you know, miles away from where you're familiar with, you don't know. So anyway, okay, let's have a look at this video. Hope it comes, I hope my internet's okay. Now, I'm going to try and comment as little as possible. I hope they understand that it's fair use. You know, obviously I'm not claiming it's my video. This is, let me just see whose video it is. It's a news. So this is a series of wrong turns sealed backpacker Celine Cremer's fate. Australian story lost, part 1. It's the ABC News. So let's give them credit, and hopefully they'll understand it's fair use.
You get to know the Tasmanian wilderness, the more you begin to respect it.
So remember, this was Tasmania. Tasmania. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a beautiful place, to be honest. But there's quite often things happen there, isn't there? Wasn't it Tasmania? Was it Tasmania where they had the incident with the dingoes not long ago? But anyway, the trouble is, the more remote an area is, the more likely that things can go wrong, I suppose, isn't it? You know, if you're, I don't know, what do you think? Do you think you're more likely for things to go wrong if you're in like a remote place like this, or do you think it's more dangerous like in a city with a lot of, you know, where there's a lot of crime? I don't know. I think people relax in places where there isn't a lot of crime. I think people are more, my personal opinion is people are more aware where they're in a place where there is a lot of crime, and they go to places like this, they just don't think anything can happen to them. Not only crime, because as I say, this doesn't seem that it was a crime situation. But do people sort of go to these beautiful places and just think, oh, nothing can go wrong? I don't know. Talked about this before, haven't we? I just want to say before it goes, it's so difficult with young adults. All of you out there, we know if you've got children, and when your children are little, and you think, oh, when they're older, life will be easier, because it's not. It's not easier when they're older. It's more difficult. You've got more things to worry about. What do you do when your sort of adult child says to you, oh, I want to go to Tasmania on holiday. I want to go traveling around Tasmania. What are you going to do? You can't say no, can you? Because they're adults, but they'll always be your baby, no matter how old they are. I know people who've got children, adult children are in their 40s, and they still sort of, as a parent, you never really get over that feeling that they are your baby. But having said that, you have to let them go. So if they say, all right, I'm going to Tasmania to travel, or Australia, or if you're living in Australia, they might say, I'm going to Europe, or I'm going to America. And what are you going to say? You can't say, no, you can't go. It's not like when they're little, you can always be in control of them. You know what they're doing every day. You put them to bed at night. You get them up in the morning and you take them to school. And then really, as soon as they're teenagers, they start doing things. You have no clue when they leave the door, as much as you think you do even. As soon as they go out that door, you don't know where they're going, what they're doing. Are they safe? Are they getting in a car with someone who's drunk? Are they taking drugs themselves? Are they getting into a fight? Oh, and if they're girls, you worry about them. Are they walking home on their own? Are they safe? There's, you have to switch off from it really, because, you just cannot control them. They're adults. You have to let them live their lives. And if you're unlucky enough, like poor Celine's parents were, and not only her parents, but so very many people whose children go off, adult children go off on holiday, or, and you think they'll be safe, they're with their friends, maybe they're with their boyfriend, maybe they're with their husband even, you just don't know. So what I'm trying to say is, we have to let them go. We have to let them go, because otherwise they won't be living, would they? They can't stay under the umbrella of their parents forever. But, as soon as they leave, we just don't know what, we lose control of them. And there's nothing else that we can do. As parents, there's nothing else we can do.
She was really excited about it. I mean, Celine.
I mean, the thing that we can see about Celine, she's a very beautiful girl. She enjoyed being on her own, but she was on her own through choice, making these journeys on her own. She could make friends. She was a sociable person. Sometimes people just like doing things on their own, and there's nothing wrong with that, is there? So, yeah, I mean, she's a sociable person. Everybody's got good things to say about she should have been safe, but it's very sad, because it just feels like she just took a wrong turn. Now there's something else I was just going to say there. Oh yeah, so like what Margaret was saying there, you left home to go to Australia. That is a long way, bloody hell. I mean, God, when I came to live in Spain, as far as my parents were concerned, you might have thought it was Australia. I mean, Spain from the UK, where I was born, is literally 2.5 hours on an aeroplane. But my parents, they just didn't, they weren't travellers, do you know what I mean? It was like, it might as well have been Africa as far as they were concerned. But I think the other thing is when you're young, you don't think of it like that. I never thought what effect it was having on my parents. So first of all, before I moved to Spain, I moved from Manchester, where I was born. I moved to the south of England. That was bad enough. My parents were like, oh my God. So I was the first member of my family that ever moved away from Manchester. But since then, other members of the family have moved away from Manchester. But I was the first one, like nobody ever went. No, I mean, they might have gone on holidays and things, but certainly not to live outside Manchester. So that was bad enough, moving to the south of England. Then moving from there to Spain, it was like, oh my God. It's like I might as well have emigrated to Australia or Africa in their eyes. But I never even thought of it like that. It's funny, isn't it? Because when you're young, you don't think of the effect it's having on your parents, do you? I think young people are sort of selfish, really, in the sense of, and they should be, because it's their life to live. It's not you as a parent. It's not your life to live. It's their life. You have when we have children, we don't have children for them, really, do we? We don't have children ever because we think, I think I'll give someone a chance at life. We have children because we want children for our own selfish reasons. You don't have a child thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to do that child a favour and bring them into this crazy world, do you? It's a hormonal thing. It's a selfish thing, really, having children, if you like. It's what you want. So your children, then, when they get to old enough to think for themselves, you have to let them. And it's hard. And, it will have been hard for Celine's parents, just like it is for everybody's. But unfortunately for them, something did happen to Celine. I hope they've found some peace now. I really do. So that's a mum. A mum already had a bad feeling. I think, maybe you do get an idea. But the trouble is, by now, quite a few days had gone past. This is the problem. I think last time I talked about this, somebody came on who was from America, who was saying that some of the trail parks in America, you have to actually log in as you go in. I mean, it just seemed to me a brilliant idea, really. Imagine you go to one of these trail parks and you have to log in some way to say that you've gone in there. So when it comes to the end of the day, and I presume the rangers would go and see who's logged in. Oh, hang on, Celine logged in, at 12 o'clock or whatever in the afternoon, and she hasn't logged out yet. And they would have known. To me, they should have known, because there's a bloody car there in the car park, for God's sake. Don't they check and think, why has that car been in that car park for all those days? But anyway, if you don't sort of take that into account, imagine if as soon as you go into a place like this, you had to log in and log out when you came out. So then at the end of the day, then the rangers went and said, right, who logged in today? Oh, hang on, this person hasn't logged out yet. Let's go looking for them. You just feel that there's got to be some way of protecting people's safety, because seems like with Celine, maybe she just took a wrong turning. But anything, there can be dodgy people on these trails, like with Rachel Marin in the Marham Park Trail in America, in Maryland. She was murdered on that trail. You just don't know what's going to happen. So I thought that was a brilliant idea, that when this, one of my chatters left that comment and said in America, in some places, you have to log in, if you like, or say that you've gone there. I think that's a really good idea. Might have saved Celine's life. We've got 10 days there. 10 days. So she spoke to her mum on the 16th of June, and she was not reported missing until the 26th of June. So 10 days she was there. Maybe she was alive for the first few days, lost but alive. So it is very sad. I appreciate, I think it was you there, Mark, saying, privacy reasons. But, sadly, things that protect our privacy, they do not protect our safety, do they? Like CCTV and things like that. Sometimes there's things that you have to sacrifice. Because the thing is about privacy, people would know, no one's going to go monitoring that just for nothing. The only time anyone's going to monitor where you've been is when you disappear. I don't believe that these people sat there sort of watching what people are doing all the time. It's just like when something comes up, which is normally for your own safety, or because you've done something bad to someone or whatever, committed a crime. To me, I just don't get this privacy thing. I would want to be found. If I went missing, obviously I would want to be found, or if whoever had made me go missing, I'd want them to be caught. If somebody committed a crime against me or any of my family, I'd want them to be caught. Soft privacy. Honestly, I'm a bit like, I suppose I'm a bit I think you should have to give your DNA at birth. To me, I don't see why you don't have it. Why not? How does giving your DNA, if we had a complete DNA database, how does that affect your privacy? Because it would only be relevant if you did something wrong. Nobody's going to go. Anyway, that's just me. But let me know what you think. I know there's a lot of people that are so anti things like that, and that's their opinion, and that's fine. But to me, yeah, if as soon as we were born, our DNA was taken, then it just make solving crime so much easier, wouldn't it? Anyway, I don't know. Gosh, I mean, so they went to all that trouble and they took out the electronic detectors, etc. And, it seems likely that Celine was already dead by then, but they didn't find her. The police didn't find her, and they did their search as they do. And we know from cases we've looked at, they'll do a search for so long, and then it comes a time when they have to call off the search. And they called off the search for Celine. As Celine was only found, as we'll see in this video, because luckily, her friends and volunteers, etc., went back there and looked for her and found her phone, and then somebody went back there and found her remains. Not the police. And I'm not criticising the police, because they can't just go on searching for 2 years, of course. But it just shows you to never give up, doesn't it? So many missing people, cases we cover, can never give up, because you know what? You can walk past you can walk past someone's remains. You can walk, how many times probably those search parties that went out there were so close to Celine, but never found her. And then finally somebody found her. So you should never, ever give up. It's hard because it costs resources, to go out and search for someone, especially in a difficult place like this. It costs money. It takes time. It's dispiriting when you don't find anything. But it just shows what perseverance can do, that she was found, at least eventually. When I looked at that, look, let's see if I can get it to the... Look at that dog. He's looking straight at the camera. But do you know what? The police took the cadaver dog out, but you know, for once, the cadaver dogs, they're normally spot on, aren't they? But did not find Celine. It's strange, isn't it, really? You know, there's still a lot of questions about this case. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no evidence that it was foul play, whatever happened to Celine. But it seems funny that they did not find her when they first looked.
We actually utilised the cadaver dog to help out at that point as well.
The river on a bridge. They're on water. Going left back to the car.
I just think it's very sad to think we don't know if she survived 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights. It was 10 days before anybody went looking for her. So it's very sad to think that maybe she was alive for quite a few days, waiting for somebody to come and rescue her. You know, it's very sad, that, isn't it? You almost hope that she did die the first night, because then she didn't suffer afterwards. Anyway, she was lost. I mean, it feels like she was lost. They're going to talk a little bit about conspiracy theories now. It is possible that someone frightened her and that. Why did she go off the main track? You know, and this is the other thing we can learn from this, is you must not go off the main track. If you decide to do these, you know, sort of go on these sort of out of the way hikes and things, fair enough. You know, you should be able to do whatever you want, but stay on the main track. Don't try and go off. Now, why did Celine go off? Maybe it's because it started raining. Maybe she was taking cover. Maybe somebody did scare her away. Maybe there was somebody she thought, oh, you know, don't like the look of him or her. We'll never know that. We will never know why Celine went off the main track, but she did. And it seems like then, as a consequence, she got lost and she tried to find her way back. She tried to make makeshift shelter, because that's something that comes up. Probably it'll be in part 2. You know, there was evidence that somebody had tried to make a makeshift shelter. But sadly, you know, Celine did perish. Maybe hunger, thirst, hypothermia. We don't know why, but she did. This is the other thing that always happens, isn't it? So you've got, you know, they're appealing for people to come and help search. But then, of course, like, for example, say I was there and I said, oh, I'll come and help search. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm too old to go out and help search. So they'd probably end up, you know, looking after me. How do you decide? You know, how do you keep it under control? You know, we saw this with Samantha Murphy. We've seen it with lots of cases. People want to help and they want to help search, but not everybody can help search, and some people can hinder it. All these cases, you know, nowadays, for whatever reason, you know, high profile cases, they cause, it's good that they're high profile, but there's also causes difficulties, doesn't it? Because, you know, what do you say? So, oh, come on, come and help search. And then they've got to vet the searchers. So that's the end of part 1, and it's going to go into part 2. Part 2 hasn't been released yet, but we'll be watching it when it comes out. So what happened basically, 2 years later, a band of friends, got together and decided to go out for this big search, and it did yield results. Initially, it yielded the phone was found, the makeshift sort of rain cover, which showed that it seems like Celine did try and protect herself from the weather. And then that led to, later on, a solo searcher finding Celine's remains 2 years later, after the police had given up. Anyway, that'll all be in part 2. So I'm going to finish there. I'm going to go to bed because it is now 1:38 in the morning here in Spain. Hopefully I'll get a nice lie-in. Listen, thank you so much for caring about Celine. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave your DNA on that like button and the subscribe button. And I'll be back soon with another video. Tomorrow, I've not got many Spanish classes tomorrow, so I'm hoping to be able to do a couple of videos tomorrow, but we'll see what comes up. So I'll see you really soon in the next video, and until then, as always, rest in peace, Celine. Condolences to her family, and may your God, as always, go with you. Night, 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 night. Night, night, don't let the bed bugs bite.